Hey, everybody. We are back
What up?
live with The Real Kirk, and I'm just checking our stream, make sure we actually show up on the interwebs. I got a notification that we are live, and I see us live. So there we go. If you want to get up in the chat, we are in the chat. It might be a little bit delayed, but we're there.
We are.
If you're on Facebook, you come across as Facebook user, so you get anonymity and everywhere but Facebook,
That's
which
right.
is fine.
Facebook knows. Facebook knows that you are watching.
Nothing is anonymous on Facebook. And if you don't know that by
And
now,
and the one thing that I didn't bring up in our planning meeting.
what?
Oh man, I got even more grainy, didn't I?
Yeah, you
Hopefully my
did.
audio is coming through okay. I forgot to bring in our planning meeting is we absolutely need to talk about Facebook, social media, what it means to be a conservative, the fact that you should expect to lose your business if you are continuing to rely on them. It's time to make a change.
Yeah.
We'll
So,
get into that. I got a story. I got a story.
do you?
Hmm.
All right. I'm going to check some audio here before we get too quick. I've got meters telling me that we have sound. If you're live, feel free to give us a quick thumbs up or something that you hear sound also. But
Yeah,
let me get in here.
yeah, that'd be great.
Like I can hear me, but
Right? Can you hear me?
that's all I'm waiting for.
User, so you get anonymity
Here
and
you can.
everywhere but Facebook,
Long delay.
which is fine. Facebook
Yeah, we're good.
That's okay. Long delay is not a problem. As long as everybody in the if anybody comments, just know
Like
that we
10
have a
to
long
15
delay.
seconds. Seriously. So, yeah. Hey, random Facebook user who says, yes, it's all good. Sound. Thank you.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks, Kat. Appreciate you.
Yeah, if you're in
I'm
the
watching.
Facebook, good. So, a
Yeah,
lot went
I'm
on
watching
this week.
Facebook.
We got pipelines
Oh,
blowing
buddy.
up. We got conservative Christians being ripped out of their beds and in front of their children for defending their children.
Yep.
What else?
Oh
Hurricanes.
gosh.
And
Hurricane.
Ron DeSantis just went on live television and told everybody Florida believes in the 2A, so you better not think you're going to riot and loot here. He
Yeah.
basically said he has given Floridians, he has reaffirmed Floridians' rights to shoot looters on the spot.
Dude, Ron DeSantis for president 2024.
I don't know if
I'm ready.
Florida
I'm
can
ready
let
to
him
go.
go.
I don't know if Florida can afford to let him go.
Well,
Afford to let him
yeah,
go.
like he has said multiple times, he has far more influence as the governor in Florida than he does as the president of the United States, even. So,
Yeah.
and arguably true. So,
Yeah, it's true. No, it's 100% true. And I'm also rocking
what you
my
got?
friend's company's shirt tonight. I'm really
CrossFit
excited.
something?
Uno Mas. It is kind of a CrossFitty company. But they don't require you to be an asshole to join their club. So they don't call it CrossFit.
Yeah.
So Uno Mas, they're very, very cool. They sent me that shirt so that I could wear it on the interwebs and make some Instagram reels with it. So I was like, man, I'm gonna wear it on the
Oh,
podcast tonight.
you're getting some swag.
I got a swag. I got a swag, man.
Nice. Nice. Well, I purchased all of my shirts. And of course, I'm wearing red in support of everyone deployed. It's Friday.
Yep.
All Fridays are red Fridays. And
I don't
remember
own any
everyone
red
deployed.
shirts right now. I need to get a red shirt for Fridays. I do.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a prayer request before we go too forward.
All right.
Too far forward.
Let's hear it.
So, being a prepper, one of the biggest things that I have done to prep has been getting in shape, being on a weight loss journey, losing 165 pounds, which I'm pretty excited about. And this Sunday, one of my prepper journeys has taken me to mountain biking. And I have been mountain biking my guts out. And my friend Lance and I, we are in, I mean, it's technically a race, but we're not, neither of us are actually racing because we're not going to be competitive to anyone. But we are riding in the Bass Pro Shops Tour de Bass fundraising bicycle race. And we're going to do 26 miles on Sunday, which will be um, about 8 miles past my personal record. Um, so, which is not insignificant. So, if you see this and you think about it, would you please pray for me on Sunday? My friend Lance and I, we always pray, no crashies, no flatties, no whammies. And in Jesus' name. And we are, but for me, this is about knowing that I can accomplish a 28-mile ride. I would be able to ride home from the nearest city if things went really sideways. I could get on a bicycle and ride home. Um, but anyway, I'm a little nervous. I'm a
So
little
you're going to
nervous about it.
EDC bike, as in, you're going to put the full get home bag and
I'm not going to put the. I'm not. This is just going to
tactical
be
law
the.
folded SBR on it, and
We're gonna be very, very small kit. I did pick up a new.
it is Bass Pro, so they're pretty lefty.
They're pretty lefty. Yeah, that's true. I did pick up a new day pack with a hydration bladder, and definitely room for plenty of snacks, first aid, and my sidearm. And so,
Okay.
so that will be the like most stripped down kit that we have. So, no shelter, no fire kit, no nothing like that. It'll be a multi-tool. The bike is set up with a bunch of, it's got a couple little bags attached to it, not like you imagine in a touring style bike, just some like little like the toolkit and a spare tube, and then across the handlebars there's like a little tiny bag that I usually just put my car keys and one of my fueling bars and and a little first aid kit. So but needless to say, I am very, very nervous, and um, yes, I will be packing.
Yeah,
That is,
we are definitely packing pastors, but we
yeah,
don't talk
100%.
about packing. We're not Catholic. Those are not things we go into
Yeah,
all that
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. That's bunker.
That's
That's a
a
lot of bunker talk. But but anyway, so that's my big prayer request. So if you guys can be praying for me, I'm nervous, and this is going to be a really rough course. I looked at the map today. There's like a mile long 7% grade hill at the end of the
up.
race. Like
I
it'll be
assume
my
the grade
final
is up.
grade up. Yeah,
Yeah.
7% up. And
No,
well,
no
you
such luck
start
as
you
rolling
you
down to the finish.
well you start rolling down, like you
Oh,
get the
okay.
7% grade down to begin
Yeah.
with, and then you do this 26, 20, well at that point it would be
Thin the field
25
out.
miles, and your last mile is just an absolute just gut kick.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah, it's gonna be terrible.
Now, do you set your phone up in a mount so you can watch movies while you ride? 'Cause,
Well, I do listen to podcasts and audiobooks when I'm riding by myself. So if my buddy Lance, takes off, and he's going to be on more of a hybrid bike, so he
yeah.
would be able to out climb me with
Well,
his
Lance only has like
gears.
one nut. Isn't that kind of like well-known
It's
public
different
now?
different Lance. This is a
Oh,
different
different
Lance. This is
Lance.
not.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no, no,
Not one
not
nut.
that Lance.
Not one nut cheater.
No, no, no.
Oh, I thought.
Um,
Okay.
so no, we're gonna but
So are you juicing?
no juice and no
No.
no
Okay.
juice and just nope, that's just trying to this is my juicing. Here it is. I'm
What's that?
hydrating like crazy days before. I'm just like trying to get my gallon a day,
Okay. I gotta do some
just like that.
rearranging.
So
There we go. That's better.
yeah.
That's
So
more
anyway,
better.
let's get to the news, man. What do you want to touch base on first? This you
I
want to
don't
talk
know.
about Facebook? You want to talk about
No,
pipeline? You pick.
I don't care about Facebook. What would you think about Facebook?
Okay, so here's the deal. I'm hearing more and more stories, and you've had your battles, and I don't know if you want to open up at all about this stuff that you've been through with Facebook, but um,
They're
I have a dear
communists.
friend. I don't have permission to use her name,
Okay.
but I have a dear friend that is a multi-million-dollar realtor and property developer. Her husband has a multi-million-dollar contracting business. They are two of the most faithful, God honoring people, generous, just really, really, really great. But they are vocal conservatives. They stand for truth. They went toe to toe with a corrupt school board and fought for kids' rights, fought to get masks off of kids, fought to not mandate jibby jabs for teachers. about a year ago, and then they just, they won their battles, and they did win. They won, and then they went on with their lives, just running their businesses, and everything was going great. Well, her social media kind of overarchingly umbrella runs all the other companies' social medias. Okay. The construction company, the dirt company, the real estate company, and the property development company. Okay. Well, she did not get sent to Facebook jail this week.
Okay.
She got a notification saying you are no longer eligible to use Facebook Meta products. And every account got deleted.
Mm.
And it was 10 days before their biggest event of the year, this big, massive thing. I don't want to give too much details. And where basically all of their companies are pointed at the same goal for 1 week a year. And anyway, it has been horrible. They lost, I think, somewhere between 5 and 10,000 followers, and it is really, really bad. And this is like the third or fourth story like this that I'm hearing about. We're coming up into election season.
Right.
We're coming up into
So that's
a
part of
time.
it.
If
I
you
am.
are an influential,
Mhm.
if you're an influential believer, if you're an influential conservative,
Yeah.
you need to be backing up. Listen, they lost all the memories with the kids that they did on live streams.
Right.
They had a kid graduate from one of the branches of military. They lost all of the photos that they had posted of him,
Yeah.
and that time, and you need to be backing up your accounts. You need to be backing up your, if you want to have these pictures, if you want to have this stuff, it needs to be,
Yeah. I mean,
hard copied.
if you're on Instagram, Facebook,
Yep.
YouTube, Patreon, any of those,
Yep.
those are lefty liberal socialist organizations that believe in social
100%.
agenda.
100%.
None of your information is safe there, even if
Nope.
you do pay them to be on there. So I am a Facebook Meta business person. I've been with Facebook. I've been giving them money
Yeah.
since the beginning. I've been on Facebook since late 2006. I think it was 2006, which is before it was available to the public. It was invite only still at the time.
Yep.
So I have
Yep.
business accounts with them, lots of business accounts with them. I did get an email this week. So they've been violating a lot of real estate laws in places by allowing professionally licensed people to use their platform as a marketing. So if you've been paying attention to real estate at all for the last couple of years, it was really common, especially in the residential world, for realtors to use Facebook as one of their marketing platforms. The problem is there's actually laws around how you're allowed to market real estate, and Facebook's not a multiple listing service. Right. So, some of it was kind of gray area for a long time, but they got smacked. They got in a lot of trouble, they being Facebook, when it came to property management. So rentals, right? There's a lot of laws around the advertisement of rentals and fair housing market. Like there are federal laws there, and
Yep.
Facebook violated them quite a bit over the last years, and they've been trying to come into compliance for a while. So what the email said, and again, I was listening to what you said, this is definitely a different situation. It's not the same at all.
No.
Not at all. But it would not surprise you that they're going to do some big cleanup prior to moving into. So at the end of it's like in a week or two, you will no longer be able to list real estate. But it wasn't just real estate. If you've been into homesteading or farming for a while, list a chicken for sale and see what happens.
Right.
Like you get
See what
deleted.
happens.
You cannot
List a
sell
puppy for
animals.
sale.
Right. You can't sell animals on Facebook. They don't believe in it. It goes
Right.
against their terms of service.
Very
And they
similar
will
to Craigslist.
they will violate you and kick you off and delete you and remove you. And it sounds like that's really what happened, is they decided that she violated whatever terms they have. But here very shortly, you're not going to be allowed to
Bottom line, yes.
list a house unless you are a homeowner listing your own house, which I think is a good thing.
I don't hate that.
Realtors have
you're gonna
plenty
hire
of
marketing.
platforms.
You're going to hire marketing people, not realtors.
Well, realtors are marketers. So
Well, yeah,
it's
but
literally their job. It's just about their only job. It's the only thing they're really even licensed to do. They're marketers, and they're supposed to market real estate because there's a lot of rules about how to sell real estate, and they're supposed to know them all.
sure.
So
Sure.
Facebook is still going to allow them to do it. What they've said is you can't make free listings anymore. You can have a business who is registered with Facebook, which some of mine are, just because they have been for a long time, and I haven't removed them. And then you can pay them to take out an ad for your listing.
Yeah.
So that's still going to be allowed.
Fun fact about that. My friends are still getting billed for the advertising that they were paying for, even though
Oh, nice.
their accounts are not being. They've been billed.
And now you
twice
won't be able to get in there to stop that.
To stop it. Exactly right.
That's such a pain in the butt. And there, the way to talk to Facebook, you have to. The old trick has been you buy an Oculus VR set, and then there's a customer service number associated with that, and it allows you to talk to someone about your Oculus purchase. And then while you're there, they can solve your Facebook problems.
Really?
And then you return the Oculus. So I know a bunch of guys that were doing that for a while. Like that's how you finally get to talk to someone at Facebook. They want your business. They want you to keep those $2,000 VR headset, and then so they'll fix your Facebook account to keep you. But other than that, people like Matt Best and Evan Hoffer with 10 million followers talk about having to go through the ringer to talk to someone, to be able to get a hold of someone. Someone just the other day, maybe might have even been, it was Tim Pool or somebody.
Well, I still have an account that's been hacked and locked out, and I can't get into it, but nobody else seems to be using it.
I keep forgetting to unfriend it. I need to do that. But anyway, listen, this has been true for a long time. This was true 2 years ago in the election. If you were even close to seen as a public figure of any influence that might influence people against voting for communists, you were absolutely throttled and silenced. And I'm watching all my stuff
100%.
get buried right now anyway.
Oh, 100%.
So along the same lines, just this week, Russell Brand was suspended from YouTube and took everything to Rumble. And Rumble has stepped up their game. So I added some Rumble. I've been on Rumble for a while, but I haven't actually put anything there. I took one of my companies to Rumble yesterday and have started migrating stuff over there. So I will be dual posting Facebook, Rumble. I don't post to Instagram. I don't know if I will or not. And I think Facebook in there. But then you give Rumble the rights to license your stuff, even if it's on Facebook or YouTube. So you get your 60%. And you can monetize with Rumble almost immediately.
Really?
Yep.
I might have to take Free State Homestead over that way.
You probably should. So if Tim Pool took all of his videos to Rumble, of course he hasn't removed them from, people are not off of YouTube, but now they post there first. And Russell Brand is now doing that. And again, Russell Brand, he's riding the wave. He says interesting and provocative things, but he is not a conservative. He's not an American. He talks exclusively American politics because it's where his money comes from.
Sure.
But he's got some thought-provoking things.
I used to think he was just a crazy person, and I got to tell you,
he's really intelligent.
He's actually very intelligent.
He's a very gifted communicator. I have seen him get ambushed by people who did not like him, and he handles it super. He is a textbook study case in how to handle being ambushed by assholes. He handles it so well and turns it around effortlessly. A good study, worth listening to, I suppose. Who else? So, of course, Steven Crowder. They got hit again recently. I don't remember what it was. They've been on Rumble for a long time. And then in addition, a lot of people are jumping ship to locals. So I I've had my company. Of course, this Prep Pastors is with Patreon. I don't know if we're going to get into locals or not, but my other company has a Patreon account that's not open to receive. It's just was kind of checking it out, and I'm going to take them over to locals. So I'm watching more and more. Fieldcraft Survival. He went locals when YouTube suspended and permanently demonetized him a couple years ago.
Yeah.
For no reason. But, an interesting, speaking of Tim Pool, Nick Palmisano was on Tim Pool this last week. And
really?
pretty interesting because Nick Palmisano, if you don't know who he is, he started the company Ranger Up. He's a West Point graduate, former military. I don't remember how long he served. It wasn't very long. But he's a very prominent figure in the veteran community, given that he started Ranger Up. Now, he's no longer there except in a minor consulting role. He's moved on to another company. But he's a Northeasterner. Like, he might be considered conservative in Boston, but that's not very conservative anywhere else.
No, he's not.
And Tim Pool just kind of hit him up with, how's the American Civil War going for you, essentially.
Nice.
And he just flat out denied it. And basically, I don't think they agreed on a single thing. But Tim Pool and his cast of characters are on his show. They were very patient. Everyone was kind to each other. It ended up being a great conversation. And I think Nick's eyes might be opened a little more. So just the night before or the morning of before they shot the show is when they're calling him a Catholic activist. I don't think that's an appropriate name.
I want to talk about
but
this guy.
This man gets ripped out of his bed, and essentially I'm going to try to cliff note the story. He was at one of those pregnancy centers that is pro-life.
Yep.
And he was, I don't know, they're saying he was counter-protesting the protesters, which are the baby killers, were out there screaming and chanting. And if you don't know, these pro-life centers have been getting bombed and lit on fire, and the workers have been attacked. And basically, most of the law enforcement refuses to do anything about it. And so people have been going to help protect the centers by being out front, just by their presence. So what's reported earlier this summer, so supposedly it's happened in either June or July. And again, feel free to post your story. Unless it comes from MSN or CNN, then don't bother posting it. I'll probably just delete it because we don't want any fake news. But there's Daily Wire stories, things like that. If you want to post those in the comments, feel free. And if you want to bring forward some corrections, feel free. Here's the gist. He had a 12-year-old son with him. A man who was reported to be elderly, as in older than 65. I don't know his age. Was up in the face of the 12-year-old screaming like liberals do, doing the lose their mind meltdown, and pushed the 12-year-old. And so the father, who was there, got between the 12-year-old and this old man and said, "Don't touch my kid, leave him alone." And the guy pushed him, and so he pushed him back, and the man fell.
Yep.
Of course, he pulled you name any one of a dozen NBA players. Lay on the ground, flop down and cry and call for the judge and everybody else. Anyway, the guy gets arrested on the spot, talking about the man who defended his 12-year-old. And again, bring corrections here if I'm getting this wrong.
No, you're right. Sorry.
The district attorney started a case and then dismissed the charges. So it didn't go all the way to trial. So the morning that Nick Palmisano was just this last week, the feds basically said, well, if you're not going to bring charges, we are. And because the local person declined to prosecute, the Fed from Washington, D.C. said, well, we're going to prosecute. And the man found out at 7 a.m. by getting ripped out of his bed in front of his 12 children or 14 children. He's Catholic. His wife, basically, they busted down the door. They said he came with 15 cars and 35 agents in full gear.
Well, he's a veteran, so he's got to be treated like he's a terrorist.
Well, to which I would say,
he's got all got all
Why
those
was he
deadly
not
veteran
prepared?
skills.
I say, why was he not prepared? Why did you not have a dog outside, a dog inside, perimeter defenses, triple arms? Why did
Well,
you not know they were coming?
let's be honest. If he had a dog, they would have just had to shoot the dog.
Well,
So
sometimes
I
that's what
mean,
the dog is there for, though. I'd rather better
I
the
know, I
dog
know.
than you, or your
Well,
children.
let me say this about this story, and I'll because I know I've been interjecting some sarcasm because well that's what I do sometimes. But the fact of the matter is, um, it's not a Cold War anymore. It's a hot
Yeah,
war.
you
It's
can't
just
say it's
one that's
cold
been
when this sort of violence is happening.
exactly right, and we have got to come to a place where we are um, well let's just be real. I mean the word flank is a word, right? And this is the word, one of the words that gets us thrown off of the book of faces, right? I mean, like if if we know that our neighbors are in positions like that from henceforth, we need to be watching each other's backs. Like you need to, and if you live in a neighborhood where you can't stand behind the person that you're living next to,
If
you need to move to a new neighborhood.
I agree, move to
Get
a new
out.
neighborhood, or put some fences up, put some perimeter
Yep.
defenses up. Maybe it's
Yep.
time, you start looking around at the younger single guys and saying, "Come live with me. Your job is to pull night
Yep.
watch every night."
Yep.
You need to start realizing that as a country, there are some places where we are already involved in a war, and
Yep.
if you're going to choose to be a person who stands in front and makes a political stand, you need to be ready for the feds to kick your door in.
Yep.
Or be ready to go
Absolutely.
and, be ready to be a martyr. I would say if you have children, you need to, there are costs to being on a show like this, to making statements like we're making right now. There's a cost to that,
Yeah.
that we're both prepared to pay.
Yep.
And we know that it involves our families.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you're going to stand up and speak words or wear hats, you need to be prepared to pay that cost,
Yeah.
and not be surprised and be a crying little bitch when it happens.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Which I'm
But I
not saying
also
he
do
did. I
agree.
have no idea if he did. All I would say is he obviously did not adequately prepare for what was coming because of whatever
Well,
reasons we don't know.
okay. In his defense, when you hear the district attorney say we're not going to bring charges,
You think it's over?
you think it's over. And the bottom line of the story is, um, this case shows us it's not over.
It's never over.
It's never over. And I mean, like I have a dear friend, and I can't share very many details with them, but they were
Yeah.
falsely confused. They were falsely accused of a terrible crime, very clearly falsely confused,
Falsely
accused,
accused. Yeah.
and no law enforcement agency would touch it,
Doesn't matter.
and then a district attorney said, "Nope, I've decided to indict you." And the joke is that you can indict a ham sandwich, right? And so he got him indicted in front of a grand jury, and they rolled on him because he's a veteran and because he's former law enforcement. They rolled on him with essentially
Felony
an
stop in the field.
HRT team.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Felony stop in the field with was
Yep.
it a state
State
team or was the FBI team?
state team. No, state team.
Because there are FBI teams located in every region to handle these things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even though it's against the Constitution, there's not supposed to be a federal police force.
There's lots of things that are against the Constitution that are happening these days, and the
That's
reality is you can have your pocket Constitution and wave it in their face. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
that
matter.
actually brings me to a different subject. And I mentioned it during our pre-show meeting. There's a guy named, he's a very inflammatory name, and in whether you like his theology or not. This guy named Doug Wilson, and he's in Moscow, Idaho. He was just on Meet the Press, I think Sunday before last. There's about a 15-minute special you can find on YouTube, Doug Wilson, Meet the Press. And they painted him poorly. I'll give them credit. They did not hatchet job him. even though they went to some really horrible left wing crazy people to rebut him. But anyway, I say all of that because Doug Wilson is, he's actively standing as a pastor. He's actively standing against just this rampant corruption. He's openly talking about the cold civil war that's happening in America.
I think we
I
have to
fully
stop calling it
expect.
a Cold War now.
Well, yeah, I think so too. But I mean, I just
It may
appreciate that
not
an
be
actual
hot,
pastor of
but we're certainly
a
warm.
pa- a pastor of a mega church. They
Yeah.
got 2,500 people.
He's not
Going
a
to church
nobody.
there. It's not a nobody. I mean, I fully expect for him to get disappeared or to have a heart attack or something soon. I
Yeah.
mean,
Get Clinton.
and it's because he stands against evil, and he calls evil evil, which is what the Bible says, that we could know we were in the end times when essentially they call good evil and evil good,
Right.
right? And that's absolutely the day and age that we're living in. And so anyway, I bring him up because they're demonizing this man in the public, and he's very inflammatory. He's very sharp-witted. He's got some sarcasm to him. Those kinds of things. He's not a fluffy Easter bunny of a pastor by any stretch of the imagination, but I think you would find that his congregation thinks he's very loving. And I have a friend that lives in Moscow, and we were talking about him yesterday, and Moscow, Idaho, by the way. He was like, "Yeah, I'm probably never going to take my family to church there. Not because I don't like him. He's a very brilliant guy. One, it would be a security risk.
Right.
Two, if we were talking about like if a danger was going to happen, but even more so, he was just like everything about that church is inflammatory,
Hmm.
and I just don't know that that's where I need to be as far as like he's going through a very difficult season. He needs a place of rest, and he needs a place of healing, not another place to go to battle. And he's a veteran that's been through some stuff. So anyway,
Hmm.
all that being said,
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to shake the guy's hand. I mean, I don't agree with everything. I'm not, you know, the real Phil would tell you that I'm not a reformed theologian. Like that's not my bent. Um, I get along with reformed guys pretty well, but that's not my bent. But I would still shake the man's hand and say, "Hey, man, thanks for standing up for the Bible." Like I'm just pumped. I'm just pumped to hear about real pastors that actually stand up for the Bible,
Yeah.
and they don't just kowtow to a broken culture that is steeped in evil. And that's what I'm impressed with. But I fully
I think,
expect to see him get disappeared.
yeah. Well, more of us, the attempt is going to happen. Along that line, I will say this. This was on my heart this morning, my reading time, and I felt like it was something that I should mention in the show. Last week we talked about is the Holy Spirit telling us yet that these things are coming to pass or whatever, and I said no, it's not the Holy Spirit yet. It's still just kind of my brain. Recognizing things and putting two and two together and making 4 or 5 or 6. But I will
Yeah.
say this: so this morning was more of a yes, this is from the Lord. Pay attention and relay. And the
Yeah.
warning was to watch your camp. Okay, we are in a time just prior to violent action, and there are some violent actions happening, but it's still skirmishes, right? It's
Right.
not open war
Right.
yet. And
Right.
what happens is the enemy during times of skirmishes, when they are preparing for open war, they plant their spies, they plant their enemies, they build their case against you, right? They gather their intel. And be wary of new members. Be wary of new friends. Be wary of new people who only say the things that you want to hear, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Think about that place in northern Idaho that happened a long time ago. That we're not going to say the name right now. We're not going to say his name. We're not going to say whatever. I think everybody knows what we're talking about. Okay.
Was it on a Was it on a ridge? Was it like
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
a? Was it,
So
okay. It was like a.
the man was doing nothing wrong officially. Okay, he was a little wackadoo in some of his religious beliefs, which is why he moved out
Yes.
to the middle of nowhere so he could exercise his beliefs, which were not as openly kind to women as most of us are today. Okay, he wasn't, arguably was not abusing. I think we can make the case
No.
and say he wasn't abusing the
No. I
women in
think
his
his. I think
family.
his wife and his daughter loved him very much. I think,
Well, and
but
he
they,
loved them too, but they had some things that they did as part that were kind of, old school Jewish type beliefs that we don't necessarily hold today because we don't need to, and the Bible doesn't tell
Right.
us to. And he was a little confused about those. If you are at all familiar with the Hebrew roots movement and some of their
Yep.
wackadoo-ness,
Yep.
they, for the sake of fire insurance, are exercising some old school beliefs that are no longer relevant because why
Right.
not? And their whole argument
Because
is we're just going to do it because we don't really know.
right.
Well, we do really know, and I don't want to get into that, but let's get back to
Yeah.
the point here. The point
Yeah.
was an outsider who approached this family and became friends and worked his way into relationship, ultimately coaxed, prodded, damn near forced the man to commit a firearms violation, a very minor one, a not a big deal one. And in this case, the local people declined to prosecute also initially. And the Fed said, we're going to do it if you're not going to. And the way we found that out was in them surrounding and bringing in a CERT team to exercise warrants that no one had ever heard of or seen of. And a lot went wrong, and we would probably never know the real story, but ultimately the man's wife was shot.
Right.
They played music 24 hours a day. They committed a complete assault on the family, including leaving the woman dead for 4 days rotting.
Yeah.
Not allowing him to remove the body from the house. I mean, there was a lot of atrocities. They are flat out atrocities. The crimes that were committed were on behalf of the FBI. The FBI committed crimes. The ATF committed crimes, and were never held accountable. Well, they were both there in the end.
Was the guy, just out of curiosity,
The same sniper?
I don't know,
Yeah.
Was the guy who was coercing him into cutting those shotguns down?
Yeah.
Was his name Ray Epps by any chance? I can't remember.
I don't know if you're.
I don't.
No.
I think I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was just
throwing out there. But
because,
anyway,
Ray,
yeah.
Ray Epps,
but he was
I
a
just didn't
plant.
know, maybe.
So anyway, I will say this: the Spirit told me today to tell people we are in a preparatory time where skirmishes are happening, and the enemy is planting their soldiers in your camps. They are seeking to get you to commit acts that they think they can use against you. They are seeking to gather information. They are building their case. And this goes back to Facebook and social media. They're not going to delete your account until they think they have everything they want from it. Then they're going to delete you. So if you're wondering why you haven't been deleted yet, or you just spend unlimited time in Facebook jail, when they're truly done gathering intel on you, they will delete your account.
Well, and the other thing too is you might see the pendulum swing the other way. The new gun registration laws out of New York City, because they can no longer deny everyone carte blanche the right to carry.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are making you submit 3 years of your social media. So
I did hear about that.
Because they want to be able to comb through your social media
to look for reasons to keep you
decide whether you're worthy or not.
If you're a service-connected combat veteran or just a combat veteran, they can prove. Look forward to that being done.
But those are reasons why we don't live in places like New York.
Yeah, and those are local things, not federal. We can look for more of these things to become federal. The point is really, again, the word is just be careful, be wary. Right. Be careful who you trust these days. We need to circle the camps. We need to circle the wagons. We need to vet our people. It's time that if you're going to be close with someone, one, we're not proposing anyone to go out and commit crimes, but very soon, and even right now, things are becoming crimes that haven't ever been crimes before because they're looking for reasons to push their agenda. So be careful. When something becomes a crime, think about who knows what you have or are doing or whatever, and consider those people.
Did you just get that text message? Did you get that text message just now?
What are you talking about?
I'm just curious if you got that. Did you get a text message just now?
No.
Oh, interesting.
What does your text message say?
It was a notification of F words, disaster relief. Trucks are loaded and heading to Florida. You can give if you want to give. And I just was like, oh my gosh.
No, I didn't get that. It's not the big angry person in the sky yet. It's not Skynet yet. But I did see the people were talking about that earlier this morning. Samaritan's Purse has got a bunch of people lined up, and I get it. People are headed to do the hurricane relief. I have not a lot to say there.
Did you see DeSantis told Biden to stay the hell out of Florida?
No. Well, I think that falls in line with looting. So DeSantis said Floridians have every right to defend their property and businesses and persons with the Second Amendment. Right. And
so if a tyrannical government showed up and wanted to like hand out free stuff so that they could continue entrenching themselves as tyrannical leaders. I mean,
handing out's one thing, is the when they want to take other things. So if you don't know, when Katrina happened, the first thing they did was go through and round up all the firearms.
They went
declared
door to door confiscating firearms.
A natural disaster. They declared a disaster area, federal disaster area, and because of that, they said no one can be armed in this federal disaster area. You'll get your guns back. Most people never got their guns back.
Most of the people never got their guns back.
Yeah, that's, we got to make it safe for all of our workers to come in and save you, so we need all your firearms.
I'll make it safe.
And they really didn't ask. They just did it.
Yep.
At gunpoint.
Old people. They left old people defenseless.
To fend for themselves.
Yep. As soon as the government swept through and cleared the guns out.
Yeah. And the New Orleans Police Department disappeared.
Gangs of looters followed up because they knew that those
disarmed.
Neighborhoods had been exactly.
Yeah. 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 No, that's not going to happen in Florida. That's the one thing, it's good that you have a governor who says, keep your guns. And on top of that, feel free to shoot anyone you see looting and rioting. Go for it. And I agree. You shouldn't take opportunity to take advantage of people's weakness.
Go full KR. Full KR. Kilo Romeo. Go full Kilo Romeo.
So, that's what's happening in our country. We got... we still have 3-letter agencies that are ripping people out of their beds in the middle of the night for unjust double, that's double prosecution, right? It's double jeopardy. He'd already been declared innocent by a grand jury.
Unindicted is not.
I'm sure it's a gray line.
Declared.
Yeah.
It's not considered declared innocent. You have to be declared innocent by a jury. And then you can no longer be double.
But let's go back to the crime he's accused of. Because I think this is actually very relevant. Assault. So he's accused of pushing a man who was pushing his minor 12-year-old child.
Right.
After requesting that he stop physically assaulting his child, and the man refused.
Right.
Okay? And I don't know how hard he pushed him. Did he go too far? I don't know. I mean, at least one grand jury said no. The grand jury that was used for the latest indictment was a grand jury in Washington, D.C. So we have some arguments to be made as to the constitutionality of that. It just, you need to be prepared for these things to happen. It is time for people to stop being surprised when these things happen, which is what I'm talking about with Palmisciano being on Tim Pool. He was surprised. He hadn't heard about it, even though it was major news at the time. Every conservative news source was talking about it. Glenn Beck was talking about it. It was a well-known thing. Daily Wire had already had 6 stories saying the same thing about it. So it was out there. And essentially, MSNBC hadn't talked about it yet, and all these other mainstream lame duck false news propagandists weren't talking about it, and that is our point. You're right. They're not.
No,
which is why you
they're
should
not.
stop paying attention to them. And if you don't see it on MSNBC, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. So
Correct.
he's surprised by that. They spend the rest of the time essentially explaining why they believe we are already in a civil war and why we think it's going to continue, to which he brings up a very valid point. I want to throw him the bone. Very few people understand the true cost of a civil war or what it actually means to be in a war. And we like to throw around things and make the claim that we're in a war. And I'm going to say we're skirting this line because war is terrible. And I've seen places in civil war, and I've seen war and been in war. And that's not what our country looks like yet. However, Saddam Hussein ripped people out of their beds in the middle of the night for going against publicly standing against him or doing the right thing, or just, not being in the right family and in a position that needed to be removed. So Saddam Hussein,
either of us would be eligible for the exact same treatment. Like under this government, like either of us would be eligible for this
at any time.
So, I mean, at any time.
And I think our churches are going to get distilled down. We talk about, when you go back to men being shaped, iron sharpening iron, it is, for a long time, we have known that the American church, the evangelical, anyone who claims to be a Christ follower, we'll just cut it there. If you call yourself a Christ follower,
100%.
the church or believing body that you are a part of or identify with, they are under attack, and there are lines being created to distill true believers from, I don't know what you would call them, those who are less committed. The lukewarm, I think, is a great way to call them.
I think that's a great way.
The lukewarm. I think we're seeing more churches fall into the lukewarm category than the sharpened iron category. 100%. And I think it is a good time to evaluate whether you are in a place that has already been chipped away and is sharp and ready to ride the times that are coming, or if you are in a location that is lukewarm and round and dull. And that crosses denominations.
Oh yeah, that doesn't, there's no disagreement between denominations inside of that, as long as you're actually conservative, God-fearing Christian. If you're a Unitarian Universalist, then sure,
then we can have discussions all day long ago about the validity of your beliefs and whether your salvation is secure or not. Ultimately, Christ knows people's hearts, and he understands whether they've made decisions to follow him or not, accepted him. He understands whether you're in or not with him. That's not a call for us to make. All that any of us on earth can do, especially amongst people who claim to be a Christ follower, is to say the things that come out of your mouth, the fruit that we see in your life, doesn't reflect the fruit that we see in people who are Christ followers, and we can question and say, maybe we should examine why. If it's your 100%. Place. If it's your place, if someone asks.
Oh, Aaron, you're fine. Dude.
It's not necessarily our position to reach out and call out the log, right? Let's not do some log eye stuff, plank eye stuff. If you guys remember that song from the 90s, that was funny. Plank Eye.
There's a whole band called Plank Eye.
I think there was. It was a song, Log Eye, from a comedian. It was really good. I should find his name. He was funny. Anyway, we're not telling you to go from church to church and tell them that they're not believers. God has a way of sorting that out himself. You need to just examine your own heart and your own place and look at your own place of worship and decide, is this the body I want to ride out the turmoil that is coming? Are the people around me going to support me?
Yeah.
Are they going to understand what's happening? And when I'm ripped out of my bed, or an attempt to rip me out of my bed at 7 a.m. happens, are they going to care for my children, ensure that I have food? Because I'll tell you this, they rip you out of bed, but 5 minutes before that, they froze all your bank accounts.
Yeah.
They remove your ability, they physically take your assets, freeze your electronic accounts, and they make it so you cannot afford legal counsel. Then they come get you.
100%. 100%. And then they don't have to unfreeze them until after you've proven yourself legitimate. And by
Oh,
then you
it
had to sign a plea.
months,
By then you had to sign
years.
it. You signed a plea bargain. You signed a plea bargain just to not go to federal prison.
Right.
So hey, listen, I'm running low on phone battery. So let's do this. Let's talk a little bit
You can
about
do a
these
pause.
pipelines in Russia. Then we're going to wrap up. We'll take a break there. We'll go into the bunker. We'll record a video for the bunker folks. Those folks that are donating to Patreon. Thank you to everyone who's still giving to Patreon. Um, but let me say this. Um, I think you guys need to be paying really, really close attention to Russia. I think you need to be paying really, really close attention to the fact that our administration is day by day inching us toward world war. I think they want us to go to world war at this point because it would be a way to camouflage the failing economy. In fact, every time you see this country get on the brink of losing the dollar and or losing economic stability, we go into a major conflict. Okay. That is the left's agenda. That's how they operate.
That's
All
their
right.
playbook. That's a repeated
So
play.
so prepare yourself. The only difference is that now we're going up against a crazy person that has nuclear weapons. Okay, we're not talking about someone who halfway around the world in the Middle East can't really affect the day-to-day lives of our elementary school students. And I think that now Uncle Sniffy is gambling with your family and your children. Okay, so please, please, please be advised. I think we've said it 100 times. Go get your IOSAT. Go get your iodine tablets. Go get your preps in order. Make sure that you have months of food in place so that you don't have to leave your circumstance, that you don't have to go to the store, you don't have to put yourself in danger, you don't have to stand in a FEMA line, you don't have to go to a FEMA camp. Make sure you have what you need in place, because if you look over there, somebody, we don't know who, but somebody blew up those two major pipelines, the Nord Stream 1 and 2. You both legs, and nobody's taking credit for it yet. But that's not going to make Captain Putin very, very happy,
War
because
anywhere is hard on the rest of the globe.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
a best case scenario of a very small localized something happening over there. To
I
think
also
that
want
that's
to, I
not going to
also,
affect us would be naive.
right. And I also want to say before my phone dies, listen, one of the greatest, and I know I'm on a cycling kick. Okay, I got it. I understand. I'm trying to get fit, trying to unfat myself, all the things, right? Listen, if you want a bicycle, if you're thinking about buying a bicycle and you're thinking about buying a new bicycle, please understand that 95% of the um, bicycles, whether it be giant, trek, specialized, most of the components are made in Taiwan. Okay, so we already have a major supply chain issue. I had a buddy that ordered a bike, took him a month, and we went and picked it up today, and it was more expensive than he was told it was going to be, and it took a month to get here, and that was actually kind of a surprise. They originally told him he wasn't going to be able to get one until spring. Okay, so if you are shopping for a bike, you want a new bike, that's not a Walmart piece of garbage.
Yeah,
You need to go and start tracking them down now.
yeah.
Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, if you're still on the Book of Faces,
Luckily, it's
do
election season, so there's yard signs all over the place advertising
where
unarmed
you can take.
places to source fancy bicycles. All these communities that spend millions of dollars on
Yeah,
bike paths. The
yeah.
people who voted for that, they all have fancy, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of
And
bikes, and they've all
I
got
want to say
Nancy
this,
Pelosi coexist stickers, things like that. Just go take one of theirs.
and I'll say this, and my phone probably will die in the middle of this
They
thought,
won't
but
have
I'll
a
say
gun
this.
anyway.
Here's the deal. My buddy bought a super sick bike, and he doesn't watch this show. So I'm gonna pick on him just a second. Um, it was an awesome. It's a super sick, really super nice matte black bike, very 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 stealthy, looking bike.
Mm.
Um, and then he put these neon orange pedals on them. Now they look amazing. I love them. They look super hot. I mean, really 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 nice. I want to be able to hide my bike in the bushes. Okay. Like
Do
I
they?
want to be able to I want to stick my bike behind a pile of logs.
Yeah.
All right. So even though his bike looks crazy, uber, way nice, sick,
Yeah.
I would just say that if you're buying a bike because you're a prepper, keep the color scheme as low key as possible. Okay.
Don't don't get don't get captured by the coolness of those $4,000 e-bike things either. Like the battery's gonna be
Oh,
a
I'd
bad
love to have one.
battery's a bad idea. And
Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
know baseball cards these days. Just use an old credit card instead to make the engine noises. Baseball cards
No,
are
that's
hard to
that's it.
come by.
So so listen, I know this is gonna die. I need to get switched over to my laptop.
All right, we'll wrap it up here. We're
I
right at an hour, so we're
Yep,
we're just
absolutely.
shy.
All right, everybody,
Fall
get
us into the
prepped.
bunker. Get prepped if you can, but it's probably